Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. I hope you guys are all doing well. Andrew Musgrove here. Please remember to hit thumbs up and hit subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube channel. If you're listening through our audio only platform, please remember to leave us a rating and review. Lots of great content coming up to end the week ahead with the visit of Ipswich on Saturday. We'll have the view from the opposition on Friday with Dave from the Blue Monday podcast, an Ipswich Town fan. And we'll have Gibbo back as well on Thursday with the match preview. So do look out for those two videos, those two episodes, and enjoy. Today's video is all about my dream Newcastle United summer transfer target. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Who is no longer my dream summer Newcastle United transfer target. Got there just about. It's Matheus Cunha. You might remember in January, I came onto the show and I proclaimed my love for the Brazilian international because I think he's a fantastic player. I still do. My opinion on his ability has not changed. He's one of the best players in the Premier League. He's got a great touch. He's got an eye for goal. He's quick. He's strong. He's very, very good. However, since January, since I proclaimed my love for him, a lot has happened, which just makes me think and doubt that he's the right man for Newcastle United. In fact, it's not doubt. I've come to the conclusion and the verdict that Matheus Cunha is no longer the right fit for Newcastle United. He's no longer top of my list whatsoever. I think there are other players Newcastle should target in the off-season to improve this squad. I'll tell you for why. It's very simple. His discipline, his attitude. I think there are questions to be asked. And the way Newcastle United's dressing room is made up, you've got very few egos. And if you've got egos, they're all in check. And everyone is pulling together. It's about the club. Everyone's pulling in the same direction. No egos running wild. I fear Matheus Cunha would come in and potentially disrupt the dressing room. And look, we're in an interesting point when it comes to Newcastle United. It might not be this summer, but I don't think it's too far down the line where we will see Newcastle United sign someone who comes with that ego simply because they are one of the world's best players. And that is the balance you get. But you hope that if you bring a disruptor into the dressing room, it comes because they are at the very top of the game. And Matheus Cunha, as good as he is not that player. His discipline is a huge issue for me. Really, really is. He's missed 6 games this season for Wolves, which might not seem a lot, but when you are Wolves' best player, they are relying on you to help them survive the relegation scrap. Thankfully, from a Wolves point of view, they've done that, but they've had to do it 6 times without Matheus Cunha. Granted, one of them was the FA Cup, but 6 games he's missed, not through injury, not through questionable yellow cards or dismissals, but through 2 instances where if he'd been served a longer ban, he could not have complained. And for me, that's the kind of discipline and the kind of risk and gamble Eddie Howe will just not want to take. As good as Cunha is, I don't think there's an argument to look at the balance and say, well, actually, he's that good. He's a potential hothead. Yeah, come and get the ball. No, I think you just say no straight away and you move on to somebody else and you spend that money elsewhere. He's going to cost 62.5 million. That's his release clause. That's out in the open. That's a lot of money. Could you spend it elsewhere? Maybe on Brian and Burmo. And also we have issues about where he'd fit in, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But on the discipline, the 2 examples I'm talking about, you've got the incident against Ipswich, where he, for whatever reason, decided he was going to grab the glasses of the Ipswich Town physio and throw them to the floor. It was a mass brawl. One of Gary O'Neill's last games, if not his last game in charge of Wolves, and you just thought, goodness me, what a mess, no discipline. I think the interview after, Gary O'Neill threw his players under the bus, and you just thought, what is going on here? Such a mess. And that Wolves are just not long for this league. Somehow the new manager's come in and turned it around, and he's had to do it, as I say, without Cunha for quite a few games. And the other one was Bournemouth. He took 3 swipes at the left back and then had to be restrained by Bournemouth and Wolves players and then taken down to the dressing room. So you've got 2 examples there of just him losing his head. And if you're Newcastle United and you're spending the majority of your budget on this one player, you want, as best you can guarantee, him to be playing every single game, really, or to be available to be picked for every single game. You don't want that risk that he might be missing for 6 games because every now and then, like a light switch, he just flicks and he becomes this kind of monster. And causes absolute chaos and gets suspended for needless reasons, I don't think it's worth the gamble or the risk whatsoever. And look, Wolves actually won 4 of the 6 games he's missed. So that shows you that maybe the belief from some that Wolves are a better side without him might be ringing a little bit true. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on that. And this video comes nicely alongside news that Manchester United won Cunha and have begun work to get him to Old Trafford. And when I heard that news, there wasn't a feeling of jealousy or frustration. I wasn't questioning why Newcastle United haven't opened talks with the representatives of Cunha. Why Manchester United got the ground on them. I was just like, let Manchester United have him. If Manchester United want Matheus Cunha, you're more than welcome to him, because it's not just his discipline. There's also a question about where Cunha would fit into this Newcastle United side. He is so versatile. That's his biggest attribute for me. His versatility is so important. He's a centre forward, but he can play as a number 10 and he can play anywhere across the front three, and he does it so effectively. It's very rare you find a player like that. Usually they're really good in one position, decent in a second, and they'll fill in a third or fourth if they need to. But this guy can play anywhere across the front three. That's why I wanted Newcastle to sign him, because I felt it would give Newcastle an option on the right or the left and up top, but also, crucially, would give Eddie Howe the chance to freshen up his formation. We don't see Eddie Howe playing with a number 10. I think you can probably count on one hand the amount of times that's happened, maybe only once or twice. But I think it's because he's not really had that player who can work really well in that position. Cunha could do that. So while Eddie Howe would largely stick with his trusted 4-3 across the middle, 2 wingers and 1 up top, having someone like Cunha who's effective in a number 10 role and comfortable in it, rather than, say, shoving Anthony Gordon in number 10 to play off Isak, having someone who like Cunha who's good at it would give Eddie Howe that option to change things up and freshen things up if needed. But that wouldn't happen too often. And then it's a case of, well, do you drop Gordon? Do you drop Barnes? Do you try and shove him on the right? Like, what do you do? And I think you wouldn't sign Cunha to play him on the right primarily. You would go out and get an out-and-out right winger, someone like Brian Mbeumo. So the question is whether you sign Cunha and then you're left with a bit of a problem about how to get him into the first team, because you would be signing him to play him from the off. You wouldn't be coming off the bench every game to change it. He wouldn't accept that. I don't think you'd be spending the best part of 63 million to expect that from him either. So there's the second issue. The third issue, there was an interview in The Guardian, and I want you guys to let me know if you think I'm being a little bit too soft here. And I can take it. Just let me know in the comments. Keep it polite. There was an interview in The Guardian last month where he came out and said that he wants to leave. He wants to leave Wolves. He's made it clear he wants to go and fight for titles. The exact quote is, I want to go to the next level and fight for titles. I've got potential. And that just doesn't sit right with me at all. Not at all. Wolves at that time were not guaranteed safety. They were not guaranteed to be in the Premier League. For me, the last thing you need is your star player coming out saying, end of the season, regardless of what happens, I'm going. I'm bigger than this. I'm better than this. I've got bigger ambitions. I've got no issue with ambition. I think you need that in life. You especially need it in football. If you're not in the game to win it, what's the point of playing? That's the kind of way I look at it. What I have got an issue with is airing that so publicly. It's such a crucial part of the season, such a crucial time of the campaign. Like, what are you doing? It becomes about you, and then you're distracting from the task in hand. Imagine walking in the dressing room the day after that interview goes live, and the atmosphere and the looks you'd be given because you've gone and publicly announced your desire to leave, whatever happens. That to me suggests you're not thinking about keeping them in the league. You're thinking about your future, and you've already made your decision that whether they stay up or not, you've gone. Doesn't paint a great attitude for me. Again, let me know in the comments your thoughts. I just felt it was a little bit strange. You can let your agent work away in the background, letting it be known to potential buyers that this player is available and wants to leave and will leave in the summer. That's fine. No issue with them wanting to leave. My issue, like I say, is just airing it so publicly at such a vital time of the season. And I just read that, and any doubts I was having about being perfect for Newcastle United were just reaffirmed. Not for me. Not for me whatsoever. I just didn't like that. I just don't think that paints a very good character whatsoever. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. I did ask on social media for your thoughts on Matheus Cunha. I've got lots of responses, so thank you to everyone who has responded. And my question was, would you take him at Newcastle United despite questions over his attitude and discipline? We've got Disco Dwarf saying, I'd rather Mbeumo if possible. Those negatives mentioned do concern you, but even then, he's still a better option across the front line than we've had for a number of years. Does worry you, though, if you'd finish with 10, if you finish with 10 men on the pitch 4 or 7 times a season, which is something I've already mentioned there. We've got another response here. If the fee is relatively the same, I would choose Mbeumo over Cunha. I think Mbeumo fits the team's style of play better than Cunha, plus none of the character concerns. We've got Sean saying, I'd sign him, but only if we've already signed the right wing, right centre-back, goalkeeper and centre-mid. Not asking for too much, Sean. Tony says, you'd be a fool not to take him. He's brilliant, covers multiple positions, exactly what we need. For me, someone like him and Dominic Calvert-Lewin on a free would sort out our forward line, and then any money remaining on a right wing and right centre. That is an interesting theory there, Tony. Pete says, good player, but he's got an attitude issue, in my opinion. One I'd swerve. Steve O says, Mbeumo is preferential. The numbers, work rate, and temperament tell you that. So no, I wouldn't take Mbeumo. Gordon says, if there are questions about his character, surely we won't even consider it. Lincolnshire Mark says, no, he's not a right winger. He's not a number 8. His attitude stinks. Be perfect for Manchester United, though. And Magpie says, not for me. Poor disciplinary record. Looking for a move and playing it out in the media while still playing for our side, battling at the bottom, throwing his arms around like a child, teammates, huffy body language, as we saw at St James's Park. I'd avoid this one and invest elsewhere. So there you go. One person in favour of the move, and the rest of you guys who got in touch, not so in favour of the move. And even the one guy in favour of it, Tony, there, was based on his talent rather than his attitude and disciplinary questions. But for me, love him, think he's a great player, but those issues, always discipline and attitude, have just meant he goes from being top of my list to not even being on the list. Let him go to Manchester United, see how that pans out. He wants titles and he's going to the red side of Manchester. Not sure how that one's going to work out for you, Matheus, but that's up to you. Anyway, let me know in the comments. Would you take Matheus Cunha? Not for me. I've changed my mind totally. I think it's all about Bryan Mbeumo for me. I think he will be the ideal forward signing for Newcastle United this summer. I think it's better for Newcastle United to maybe focus on that right wing rather than someone who can play across all 3 positions. Let's get that right wing sorted. It hasn't been invested in since the takeover. Jacob Murphy's been brilliant, but we need that right winger in. And if you're going to spend 62.5 million on Matheus Cunha, then I think you should be able to find an extra 7 or 8 million and sign Bryan Mbeumo and instantly, take up the talent of the squad, the level of the squad, without concerns about discipline or attitude. So Bryan Mbeumo for me. Sorry, Matheus Cunha. Love you, but questions over your attitude and discipline. Enjoy Manchester if indeed you do go there. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. Let me know your thoughts on either Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, or any other name you want to shout out for that right wing position. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'll catch you guys very soon.